West Point. Its name is synonymous with devotion and selfless service. Duty, honor, country. For 200 years, the U.S. Military Academy at West Point has been America's premier school for leaders. Its graduates constitute a virtual who's who of American military commanders. Ulysses S. Grant, Robert E. Lee, Douglas MacArthur, George Patton, Dwight Eisenhower, Norman Schwarzkopf. These leaders and countless others have inspired American soldiers in service to their country. They have shaped the course of history on a world stage. West Point leaders have also been successful beyond the battlefield. Its graduates have applied the leadership skills they learned at West Point to a wide variety of workplace settings, where, like you, they must constantly combat time and resource pressures to produce successful results for their teams and organizations. In this program, you'll learn fundamental leadership principles that set the West Point leader apart. And you'll learn firsthand how to apply these leadership principles to those you lead in your own workplace. How ethics forms the foundation for leadership.
Have you ever noticed how the right thing to do is always the hardest thing to do?
Why a leader's communication is so crucial to the success of the team.
Communication is probably the most primary leadership skill.
The critical importance of teamwork, the hallmark of all successful organizations.
If any person along the way fails, then the project fails.
The fine art of delegation.
Battalion commanders, take charge.
And how it can help you build responsible new leaders in your organization.
The greatest attribute of a leader is when those people say they did it amongst themselves.
The value of planning and why a leader must be willing to throw out a good plan and respond to changing circumstances.
It's a military truism that no plan survives contact with the enemy.
And finally, the power of learning from failure so that you can become a leader who can take charge under fire.
And sometimes the best thing I'm going to teach them is when I mess it up.
There are no limits to what can be achieved by leaders who inspire their followers.
It's not just what we do, it's not just what we know, it's what we are.
By learning these skills, you will be able to model your own leadership after the long gray line of successful West Point graduates and those who have gone on to success beyond the walls of West Point, so that you can become more than just a good leader, but a leader of character. Hello, I'm Ed Ruggero, West Point class of 1980. I've applied what I've learned here at West Point to the world beyond the U.S. Army, because West Point's leadership lessons apply equally well in the world of business, customer service, healthcare, and government. And I'm confident in your organization as well. You know, when it comes to developing leaders, West Point has a long and distinguished record. West Point is situated at a bend in the Hudson River in New York State, where it has stood for 200 years. The Academy was created by Thomas Jefferson, who saw that the growing nation needed trained military men devoted to American ideals of freedom and service. Such leaders would be molded at an academy that would offer the best training, education, and development that the fledgling country had to offer. In my years at West Point, I can't really remember a particular moment that I could point to and say, that's where I learned to be a leader of character. The West Point experience takes cadets out of their comfort zone, hands them difficult goals and novel experiences, and invites them to become creative thinkers. As a result, these cadets change in some fundamental way. They become more than traditional leaders, they become leaders of character. We're going to look at a number of leadership principles that, when combined, will prepare you to become a leader of character. While any one of these skills could come out of a traditional leadership